And then I think you all know at the end of the town hall, you're welcome to drop the Zoom because we'll have
Three, two, one.
Landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Liftoff and the clock has started.
Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
The final liftoff of Atlantis on the shoulders of the space shuttle. America will continue the dream.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Space Camp Alumni Virtual Fest. So this evening, we have an exciting event planned for you all, and we're starting out with the Alumni Town Hall. So we're going to go over to Chris Key, the chair of the Space Camp Alumni Association Board. Chris?
Thank you, Diana. Welcome, everyone, to the Space Camp Alumni Virtual Fest. I've been looking forward to this evening and so very thankful that you could join us. Whether you are an alumni, a former staff member, family or friend of Space Camp, Aviation Challenge, the other camp-related programs here in Huntsville or around the world, welcome. As you know, Summerfest is our annual reunion. While I know that we all would have much preferred being together in person, enjoying the Space Camp environment, and perhaps maybe a few ATOs, one lesson that we've learned in our time at camp is to be flexible, tackle the anomalies, and work together as a team. Speaking of working as a team, I'd like to introduce another alumni board member, Rebecca Torzone. Rebecca led the Virtual Fest team of volunteers over the past several months to bring tonight's event to you. Rebecca, what do you have in store for us this evening?
Thank you, Chris, and good evening. I'm so excited about tonight's event, the first time ever event, Virtual Fest. How exciting. Thank you all for spending your Friday evening with us. I'm really excited that you're here. In my head, this is all about reconnecting Space Camp alumni and friends back to Space Camp so that what we experienced as a life-changing experience, we can, and it was a good fortune in our lives, we can ensure that others will be able to experience that for generations to come. So thank you to the Space Camp Alumni Board Virtual Fest Committee. I absolutely could not have done this without all of you, and you know who you are, Andrea and Michelle and Diana and Joyce and Chad and David and Suzanne and Chris. It took all of us working together over the last couple months. We have a lot in store for you tonight. We have a live astronaut chat, a preview of our virtual mission experience, and space trivia. These great events will be intertwined with some other great stories about how Space Camp has touched people's lives. And in case you missed any of our events tonight, they'll be available for replay in the weeks to come. So please continue to check back on Facebook and the YouTube channel. I'm especially excited that several of our events tonight are really just the debut. We're going to be offering them as a sustaining event moving forward. So stay tuned for lots more details in how you can stay plugged into our Space Camp network. The one thing I ask is that you please keep in mind that we're not professional streamers or even professional event planners. This is a bunch of volunteers who put together agenda tonight. So bear with us if there are a few technology glitches or hiccups. And then please be sure to give us your feedback so that we can make some adjustments in the future should we do some other events. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for being a part of the Safe Space Camp campaign. And please sit back and enjoy tonight's events. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Rebecca. You and the team have pulled together so much in so small amount of time. I know you all had no prior event planning experience. So really on behalf of the alumni, thank you for the time and the effort to provide us with tonight's event. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Now, I'd like to introduce our town hall panel. First up, we have Louis Ramirez, CEO of U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and then also Robin Soprano, VP of Camp Operations, and lastly, Ben Chandler, Chair of the U.S. Space and Rocket Center Education Foundation. Welcome and thank you all for joining us this evening. It goes without saying that this year has been a very different year from most. And we've received a lot of questions from a number of alumni, and we appreciate your time speaking it with us this evening. So first up, for all three of you, what's next for Space Camp? What does next year look like? And is Space Camp considering virtual programs? Start with Louis.
Hi, thank you, Chris and Rebecca and everybody else that put all this together. I'm very pleased to be here. First of all, I'd like to thank the entire Alumni Association for helping us when we were in need. You know, the 1.5 million was a minimum we needed to get us back open next year. And that was accomplished, but we have a lot more financial challenges ahead of us. What's next for Space Camp? I would tell you right now, in the next couple of weeks, and Robin could get into more details about it, you know, we'll be phasing out of our summer program, which is our, you know, the biggest program of the week longs, but I'm happy to report we have a couple of different things that we wouldn't normally associate with a space camp, if you will, but we just agreed in principle with Toyota to what I like to call community camp. So for all of the employees that they're identifying that have a need, we are creating a day camp for them, starting as early as next week. Because as you all know, at least in the northern Alabama area, it's still virtual. So we're going to have them on site. They'll be, you know, learning as, you know, their core curriculum has to, you know, they have certain requirements they have to do. And then they're just going to basically use our location to help them. And it's a collaboration between the employees paying part of it, Toyota paying part of it, and us providing the services. And that's really important for us because we, as you all know, we've had to let go quite a few of our Base Camp alumni family. Most of them are alumni that are there working. That's why I call them alumni family. And this allows us to bring some of them back. So I think I'll leave it at that. I'll let Ben and Robin say some.
Robin?
Yes, so we do have this community camp that's just been developing, and that's very exciting for us to be able to continue to bring children to our campus during this time frame. As we look towards the fall, we do have some custom camps that we're looking at on the horizon, as well as we're looking at SciDevs, you know, our camp that we do for the visually impaired, and we haven't ruled that out yet. They're trying to see if they have enough numbers to bring those children, and if we can accommodate that, we will. That's a program that's very near and dear to our heart, and we're not sure if that will happen, but we're hoping that it will. They're trying to get numbers though. And you know, and then as we look towards next summer, we're going to come back, you know, as strong as ever. And we're looking at the program curriculum to see if we need to make any tweaks. We, you know, typically do in this time frame anyway. And so we're excited about coming back strong. As far as the virtual camps, we typically find that, you know, the secret sauce of coming to Space Camp with, you know, or Aviation Challenge or Robotics Camp, Cyber Camp is really that sort of in-person, the collaborative nature, being able to learn leadership and team building. It's really most effective when you're together. We haven't ruled out the possibility of virtual type things, but from our feedback that we get, we don't know that we have a customer base for that. We are looking at some digital programming though that we can offer to schools and classrooms and parents who want to augment the education that they have.
Ben?
I think Louis and Robin, addressed everything. The one thing I'll brag on their team, just from being on chamber call and being in the know with a few of the local civic leaders down there. I think the Rocket Center can be just indispensable to the local community there in Huntsville, and ideally, just like how Toyota and any other large companies that would need to be able to facilitate some childcare for their workforce. And so I think it's a wonderful play. I think the Toyota deal makes beautiful sense, and it yet again proves that the Rocket Center is absolutely necessary to the city of Huntsville and the county of Madison. And I think Louis and team have done a great job ensuring that they're viewed that way.
Okay, thank you. Now, so Robin, you'd mentioned looking at programming and curriculum, and this next question really is again for all three of you. But we have the alumni on the call with us. We've engaged the alumni through the Save Space Camp campaign. What else can Space Camp alumni do to help stay engaged with what's going on and support the camp and the center?
I would actually love to see us sort of formalize maybe a quarterly, advisory group where we could get together and bounce ideas off of each other. I think you guys have a great, amount of talent and experience at camp, and as we look at how we try to always make our camp experiences real and relevant, but then also if we find a lot of folks who've been in the past expect that they want to have that exact same experience they had the last time they came. So we try to kind of strike a balance between those things you did before that were awesome, but also to introduce some new and even better experiences as well. But I think particularly in the area of Aviation Challenge is where I'd really like to tap in and get some great experience. There as well, we've got a great big anniversary year next year that we want to celebrate next year. Since we didn't get a chance to do it this year, we're going to knock it out next year.
I think I know some people that would be more than willing to help you with all of that. Louis, Ben?
Well, I would agree with what Robin said. And as you know, Chris, you asked me, it seemed like months ago, if you could get on my calendar every other week and have a conversation with me. And we did that. I think it's very productive. I share with you what's happening. I'm sure you then share it with others.
Right.
I'd like to keep that going. And an advisory group. Sometimes we're too close to the project, to the actual product we're giving. So it does help to have others look at what we're doing and give us advice.
Very good. Ben?
The only thing I'll applaud the Alumni Association. I think one of the better things that the association as a whole can do going forward to stay engaged, actively engaged with Space Camp, is to plug themselves into the communication channels. And I hate that the pandemic hit when it did, because I feel like the chapter project was a fantastic step forward and what we had always dreamed about for 3 decades on trying to facilitate. And that was being able to take Space Camp home with us, being able to interact with people that have went, alumni, teammates, across the country and even across the globe. So my hope is that the Alumni Association keeps that at the top of their priority list, and that the foundation and the center support that monetarily and with their infrastructure, because I do think that is the key to formally mobilizing our alumni army.
And I will say that through developing this evening's event, it's actually challenged us and opened up new ideas and opportunities. So we may actually be able to kick off the chapters, not in person yet, but we have. I mean, this is basically what we would end up doing is engage virtually. So we hope that we'll still be able to do that. So good point. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Chris, I would volunteer to talk to any of your chapters as you get them established. I'm sure Robin would. So don't feel like you're imposing on us. Just ask us.
Sure. Thank you for that. Thank you. Ben, your video message to the alumni was incredibly moving. Can you speak to the impact of the Save Space Camp campaign and what continued donations do for both Space Camp and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center?
Well, the impact of Save Space Camp should be fairly obvious. It is our lifeblood right now. It launched a kind of a chain reaction of large corporate gifts, but the first 700,000 were comprised of 8,000 donors giving what they could to ensure that Space Camp and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, kept their doors open. So it was nothing short of ensuring our survival. Nobody wanted to talk about what the other options were, but we were rapidly approaching having to very seriously talk about an all stop. And so I applaud Louis and team, Brenda Carr, Chris, you and your team, everybody, and John Nerger and the ASIC Commission. Everybody rallied at exactly the same time, and everybody got on the same sheet of music, and we were able to coordinate standing up Save Space Camp. The Alderman Group out of Cleveland, Tennessee, decided to help us with our mobilization efforts for that campaign. They were incredibly critical, but it saved Space Camp. It's just plain as day. That's the impact. It saved Space Camp, and I think that the funds that we've raised are going to allow us to keep our core group together and allow us to relaunch next year. So, but ongoing. And the reason why we all have to stay plugged in and to keep participating financially when and, if we can, is because, the pandemic did some damage to us before we got to this point. It did a lot of damage to us. And so we spent some cash that had been earned through careful planning and just doing good business over the last couple of years, and that's a large credit to Louis and their team for being, fiscally, watchful. We had big projects on the plate, but now we're having to go back and start whittling down our short-term debt again. And we're in much better shape today than we were 30 days ago, obviously, but we're not out of the woods yet. We're off life support. I think I heard Louis say, and I thought that was a good way of saying it, but we're still in the ICU. So we've got to stay focused. We've got to keep making good relationships and telling people what a good investment a sponsorship is in Space Camp. And that way, when we launch in 2021, we are nimble and we are able to climb back to the record-setting pace that we were on at the beginning of this year.
We're starting to get some questions in from the various channels. So Louis and Robin, I think these, I'm going to put some of these together, and these are for you two. First, will there be scholarships for 2021? And let me just stop with that one.
Well, yes, there are scholarships for 2021. Our plan is to get our capacity up to 500. We think we can do that. Hope, knock on wood, if the vaccine or treatments come through, we can get to that number. I know I tasked Robin and the team to come up with a number they felt that we could safely get to, and it was 265. So, we got to get to the 500, and there'll be room for scholarships. Many of the scholarships that weren't awarded in 2020 were just moved to 2021.
Okay. And then what adult camp programs will there be in 2021? And related to that, I know there's been a question around an advanced space camp or advanced academy for educators as well.
Yes. So as far as our adult programming, we have adult and family programs that are weekend programs that we hope to be able to bring those back. We have not offered those this year because of the pandemic, but we've also designed a weekend adult program for Aviation Challenge as well, and we hope to be able to roll that out. And the educators will have those back in house next summer as well.
Great. Yeah, I know there are a lot of individuals looking for the AC weekend. Yeah. On the adult programs, what length will those programs be? There's there was a question that came up about why the sessions aren't longer. Is it an issue of it would be that the price would be too high, or is it more of a time constraint?
So from what I understand, we've typically offered a all week-long adult programs. We don't find that we have as many register for those as we have had in years past, but we do typically offer at least 1 or 2 weeks. A training with an astronaut has been something that we've done as a week-long program. We've not done that, as far as I know, for Aviation Challenge, but it's something that we could certainly entertain as well.
A lot of these are just business decisions based on demand. So like you could have an adult camp, if you will, for a whole week if 16 people say, hey, I want to do this. You know, it's not that Robin or any of us say, no, you can't. It's just we don't see the demand. But if this collective here, Alumni Association, said, yeah, we want that, and we want to work with you, and it's this week, and you guys get all the people, we'll do it.
I think we actually did an adult alumni weekend a few years back that was spun up like that. So thank you.
Yeah, we actually have a group that's been coming for about 20 years together. Every year they come with a custom week.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really great. Louis, Ben, we've talked about the Safe Space Camp campaign and some of the corporate sponsors that have come in. What sort of partnerships are you looking at in the future with corporate partners going forward? Do they have guest speakers come to speak? Will there be sponsored corporate teams? And also, some of the alumni are interested in knowing how these corporations are actively participating in camp.
Okay. Well, I'll start, and Ben, you could chime in. But Youth Lockheed Martin is a good example. They just I think they're done, right, Robin? Updating our Aviation Challenge sim program.
We're in the process of that. We're in the process of updating our flight simulation software for the Mach 2 sim bay.
Yeah, so they just jumped in and did that. SAIC, which actually gave us $250,000. Since I've been there, 5.5 years ago, they come quite often to work on our infrastructure or IT. Albert Shaw, who most of you guys probably have met at one point or another, he's a retiree from SAIC, and he's our IT guy. So that relation is still very strong. Boeing, who donated $500,000, they're involved, whether it's Rover Challenge or other things. Of course, the Intuitive Planetarium is probably the most obvious one. They're heavily involved in that. And Hal Brewer, who's the chairman of the board, he's actually one of the first people I talked to before we even went live to ask for help. And we came up to an agreement about $100,000, and then he wrote a check for $130,000. I mean, so those guys, and I could go on. Northrop Grumman, of course, they allow us to use Rebecca anytime we need her. Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, there's so many.
Wait a minute, we need to talk about that, Louis.
There's so many examples of all the different corporations that are behind the scenes to help us. I think Rover Challenge, those that have witnessed it, that's put on by both us and NASA. And all of those volunteers are rounded up by NASA and all of the community. It's very worthwhile. It's a very great program if you haven't gone to it.
Sounds like a lot of things happen behind the scenes that a lot of us just aren't aware of.
Right.
Okay. Ben, do you have anything to add?
No, I think Louis hit the nail on the head. The one thing I'd like to see from our corporate sponsors and the Alumni Association is when we do get back to an in-person meeting, hopefully next summer, is I'd love to facilitate some type of job or internship fair while everybody is in town. Our corporate sponsors would come. They'd let us know about their opportunities specifically for alumni, so it would be a captive audience. I think that'd be a wonderful way to kind of bridge this workforce gap that we've got, and just bring it all under one roof. And so we've been talking about that with Diana and some others. That may be something that we could do to even further kind of entrench some of these corporate sponsors into the web of the alumni group.
Good. So part of the Space Center's mission is NASA. Part of it is Army. But there's also that third piece, which is energy and the TVA. One of the alumni asked if there are any plans for the U.S. Space and Rocket Center to explore investing in sustainable energy initiatives, whether it's solar, wind, or whatnot, as a way of reducing their carbon footprint and or as possibly passive income into another revenue stream.
So over the years, we've been trying to do that. We've had so many different companies come to talk to us about what could be done at the center, but a lot of times it was a lot of capital that we just didn't have. We are working with 7 States Inc., who basically gave us a $250,000 charging station, which will be out front now in front of the Davidson Center. And we just got that agreement. We're partnered with Huntsville Utilities. So it will be, we will use that charging station to actually benefit us in our energy usage. So that'll help. But honestly, that's been something we've tried to get off the ground, but we just never have. That doesn't mean after we get past the pandemic, we won't circle back to it. But the 3 main mission goals that we've always had for 50 years were, the space portion, which everybody knows, the military portion, which most people know, and energy. And we just haven't gotten there, but we need to.
Good. Has there or will there ever be any retro merchandise sold in the gift shop, maybe with the old shuttle logo on it? And I'm sure before we get to that answer, somebody's going to chime in on the social media asking for shuttle fries. But perhaps for the more sentimental alumni, Space Camp's been around since 1982. What about some of the retro merchandise?
Yeah, well, I think many of you see me. I usually wear the shuttle. Today, I'm not wearing the shuttle because I'm a retro guy. Kim McCain, who's our vice president of marketing and the museum and other things, I asked her that question, and she actually said that it was all teed up for this summer, but then they had to cancel the order when we were trying to save money. So the cash wasn't outlay for that. So she's all game to bring it back next year. So I guess the answer is yes, we will be doing some of that retro stuff.
Okay. Another question that we have is, and I think, Robin, you may have answered some of this, but no one can really replace the experience of Space Camp in person. That, like you said, that's the secret sauce. But could you possibly imagine reaching kids virtually and assembling virtual team meetings or team missions while we're in these constrained times, possibly even through a corporate camp style model?
I think any of those things are possible. It's not something that we've spent a whole lot of time thinking about just yet, but it seems like maybe with the help of the alumni, the way that you guys have organized this, that you could advise us on that. But it's just not something that has come to fruition just yet. But we're certainly open to the thought of it for sure. Yeah, we'd like to reach the kids any way we can.
And one more. This one might be a little challenging to answer because I know of the way the Space Center is structured. But given how many alumni we have, and if you imagine a camper in 1982 is, I can't do that math fast enough, we'll just say in their 40s. Is it time that the governor appoint more alumni to the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission, which governs the Space and Rocket Center? How do we go about encouraging that?
Well,
I'll leave that one to Louie.
Yeah, I'll tackle that one. So, ironically, well, let me back up. So, the commission is appointed by the governor for 8-year terms, and there is 18 of them. And after this coming year, 2021, 9 were actually going to rotate off. So now would be the time that we would influence that. We would basically you provide a list to the governor of who you would like and she'll choose from that list plus whoever else she would like. So I think it's a great question, and I know I can work with John Nerger and whoever the new chair is to actually tee that up, because I think it's important. The only proviso is you have to live in the state of Alabama. I know that. And typically they try to get a cross section of somebody that has, let's say, bank experience or a legal experience, or, retired military, that sort of thing. So that's a great question. In fact, I will write that down and I'll.
Okay, great. So coming up on a closing question, it has been a very unusual year, and it's made a lot of, we've had to pause and pivot on our plans for this year and start adjusting those plans. So thinking more ahead to the future, once we are able to finally open up, or even before then, what are some of your hopes, and this question's for all three of you, what are some of your hopes and aspirations for Space Camp and its sister programs in the coming years? Louis?
I'll go first. So next year, well, I would say the next 6 months are critical for us. As Ben had mentioned, we still have a lot of things that we have to make sure we manage correctly. We're trying to bring some things on, like the community camp I was talking about with Toyota. We're going to be experimenting with trying to get an adult camp on weekends. But the realities are we had to let go many of our camp employees. So we got to figure out how to do that effectively and efficiently. But even as we get through that and we start again in May, that's still only half of our capacity, which I'm estimating right now is at 500. So really, I'm looking to 2022, the summer of 22, to where I will say it's more normal. So I think everybody should think through that and know that all of us together have to struggle to get back into that. Because once we get through 2021, we then have to save the money up to live through the winter, live through the fall and then the winter, and then get back into 2022. So I'm very hopeful and inspired for the future after I've seen such commitment from big corporations. You'll be hearing some other corporations here in the next few weeks that are coming through with 6 figures that we're working. Wow. So that'll be very exciting.
Good. Robin, I'll give you the next word.
Yeah, thank you. So as we think about the future of camp, I think, we always continue to think about how we can update, to be more realistic, more relevant, but still maintain that teamwork, leadership. And so we want to bring in some more of the commercial crew vehicles onto the mission floor, which I'm on Mars right now. I forgot to mention that earlier. So joining you from Mars. But as we look at, our cyber camp is growing, our robotics camp, we want to be able to bring that back. It was one of the more challenging camps as we look at how do we make accommodations for COVID. We sort of had to look at all the things. We can't ever compromise safety and security of the trainees. But I was talking today with one of our elite advanced academy teams. We were able to run 3 weeks of elite this summer, and I was worried, and are we still going to be able to bring that same experience? And I think we did. Thanks to the alumni who came out to help us test our missions. That was one of the things when we thought about how are we going to do this in COVID. We can't not do some of those key experiences. And I think we were able to hit a home run. And the kids still had a great week. For a lot of them, it was really maybe the only normal week they had this summer.
Good. Thank you. And Ben?
Yeah, I'll address something different from what Louis and Robin did. My hope is that we learn from this pandemic and what we're truly capable of. And what I mean by that is when ASIC, the Alumni Association, and the foundation are all on the same page, all singing from the same sheet of music, we can really move mountains very quickly. And I'd like to see that bond strengthened with cross representation on each one of those bodies, exactly what the question was that was posed. John and Louis are totally up for that. But I will say this, one of the very biggest positive things that have come from this, I have seen so much great teamwork from the executive office with Louis, from the chairmanship over at ASIC, from you, Chris, and your team on the Alumni Foundation, and from the foundation board itself. We've got a lot of people that have a lot of influence, a lot of pull, and a lot of great clarity about where this place needs to head. And syncing them all together, I think we're going to be able to move mountains in the future. And we don't need to let this momentum slide back, and the teamwork really needs to be focused on.
Thanks. I completely agree with you, Ben. There's nothing that we won't be able to accomplish once we pull ourselves together as a team. And we've got enough people within the alumni base that we should be able to do. I appreciate the three of you joining us this evening again. Thank you, Louis, Robin, and Ben. And I think we've got brighter days ahead, and we're glad that we can go there with you.
Hey, Chris, may I say one last thing?
Absolutely.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that behind the scenes, we were given a $10 million grant. I think many people have probably forgotten that. So the state of Alabama gave us a $10 million grant to build what we now call the Space Camp Operations Center. So it's a brand new building that will probably break ground next year. Unfortunately, those $10 million that was fenced off for us was part of a different statute fund that came from the BP oil spill. So they weren't able to use any of that money to give to us to help us through our crisis right now. But behind the scenes, that's still going on. Fuquay is the architect building it. So I'm pretty excited by the end of next year that we're going to have a brand new building, about a 40,000 square foot building. It's really pretty. It's a beautiful building.
It's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that we'll probably hear more about it as it progresses. Okay. Well, thank you all, and I think we're going to move on to the next segment of our evening. So the team has been working on a virtual mission experience, and tonight you're going to see a little bit of what that looks like. As Rebecca had mentioned earlier, we're hoping to or planning to open this up to the alumni after tonight's event. So stay tuned for updates. Meanwhile, Hoot, how's the mission going?
Welcome to a sneak peek of the Space Camp Alumni Association's exciting new online mission experience. I'm Hoot Gibson, a veteran of 5 space shuttle missions as mission pilot and mission commander. Today we're going to see how our interactive mission experience works with a team undocking the Orion from the International Space Station, the ISS, performing a translunar injection, or TLI, which is NASA jargon for fly to the moon, and dock with the Gateway Station in lunar orbit. Let's meet our crew. This mission is designed to put a small team of trainees to the test. I may have logged more than 36 days in space, but this team has not. Even though they're going to be piloting the capsule from the comfort of their living rooms, this is going to require good communication and cooperation. There may be anomalies, which means they could be in trouble. It will be challenging, but it will be fun. So let's go live to the ISS where Orion is still docked and see if our trainees have the right stuff.
Orion, this is Houston. All readings look good. Commander, you are clear to start your pre-flight checklist.
Mission Specialist 2, CLS to on.
CLS to on.
Mission Specialist 1, pressurize the cabin.
ESR to on.
Operations, comms to external.
Comms are external.
Carrier crew, payload specialist. CLMP to off.
CLMP to off, clamps off, confirmed.
And pilot, THR to on.
THR to on.
Complete.
Woohoo! Here we go.
We're on our way.
Hi, I'm Robert Kirby, former NASA astronaut. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak at this event. My experience in space encompasses 3 missions, one in 1997, one in 2001, one in 2006. First mission was a science mission to study upper atmospheric science, astronomy, and earth science. And we also did a little biology and combustion science. And then my last 2 missions were to help build the International Space Station, where I did 7 spacewalks and installed the United States Laboratory on the station, and also installed the P5 truss and rewired all the electrical on the outside of the station. So I've had a very blessed career, very happy to share a little bit about that career with you. I was asked to talk about the 3 big questions, the big, we call them the big 3, that most people ask. And the first one that people ask about spaceflight is, what does it feel like? And it's a pretty incredible feeling. Launch is like being rear-ended by an 18-wheeler. The only difference is that 18-wheeler just keeps on pushing for about 8.5 minutes until you get up to orbital velocity. The first 2 minutes of launch are very, very shaky because, and I'm talking about a shuttle launch now, which we don't do anymore, obviously, but the first 2 minutes are very, very shaky because the solids impart a lot of vibration into the system. But once they pop off, the space shuttle system with just the tank and the orbiter is very, very smooth. Incredible ride to orbit all 3 times. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then the incredible thing about it is the last 2 minutes you undergo 3G throttling, which means you have 3Gs into your chest, where breathing is no longer involuntary. You have to think to breathe. And then all of a sudden, the engines throttle back and we cut off when you hit your range velocity point, and everything starts floating. And from then on, the adventure begins. It's an absolutely incredible feeling. The view's incredible. Everything about the experience is pretty mind-blowing. And, all you do is you just wish you could bring all your friends with you to share it. I would say the next biggest question is, how do you go to the bathroom? Go to the bathroom in shuttle was pretty unique. Of course, when you're on land, or on Earth, I should say, it's all about gravity. Gravity is the one thing you need to make your toilet work, to make everything work about going to the bathroom. What's the one thing you don't have when you're on space shuttle? Gravity. So it's kind of interesting that first time, I will say. The body has to get used to actually going to the bathroom in 0G. But going number 1 is pretty natural. It's the same for everybody. You have basically a wet back. And the key to going to the bathroom in space, or shuttle anyway, was every time you would use gravity here on Earth, we use airflow. So if you're going to go number 1, you grab your funnel, you snap it onto the wet back, and you go. And the suction from the vacuum basically takes all of your urine away. But if you have to go number 2, it's a little bit different. First of all, you want to control where it's going and where it stays. So, and also where you're going and where you stay. So the first thing you have to do is you have to kind of strap yourself in. And we had little restraints that would hold us down against the toilet seat, because if you didn't, obviously you just float off of it. Nobody wants that. But then airflow comes out of the seat and then down into the bowl, and that's to pull your stuff away from you. It works okay, not bad, but it does work, and that's great. Now the next thing you have to do once it gets in there is you have to close the bowl, obviously, because you don't want it to get out. But you have to get rid of the smell. And the engineers came up with a really, really cool way of getting rid of the smell. What they did was they had a little vacuum line that goes from the bowl into the vacuum space, and that would open up after you closed up the bowl. And what that did was that would cause all of the water in your stuff to basically freeze, and then after that it would. And the interesting thing is, as anybody who has a dog knows, that once the stuff is no longer wet, it doesn't stink very much. So that's how they got rid of the smell, and the system worked very, very well. And that was one of probably the biggest jobs on shuttle, making sure that that thing was maintained, the toilet was maintained and maintained well. The last question that everybody has is, were you scared? And I tell them, no, not at all. And I don't think most astronauts are scared. Most astronauts are excited. You've trained for so long and so hard that when the day comes, you're ready. And you're ready for one very, very important reason. The people on the ground, the trainers, people in mission control, they are true professionals. And it is one of the few jobs you will ever have in your life where there are literally thousands of people looking out for your safety every minute of the time. And that gives you a tremendous amount of confidence. And the training that the people, they're world-class trainers that are there at NASA. The training that they give you is so good that it gives you a confidence that you can go out there and do your job. And so no fear at all of the mission. The only thing you're afraid of when you go up into space is doing a bad job. Nobody wants to do a bad job, and nobody wants to be on national television when they do a bad job. So that is the only fear I ever had. I think that's pretty consistent with everything, with everyone else. The next question was about surprise, the biggest surprise I had as an astronaut. And I would say just how captivating the view is. The view is absolutely incredible from space. It is an experience unlike any other, and it's just captivating. I would spend, especially my first flight, if I had any time off, which you usually don't have a whole lot of time off, you just spend the whole time looking at the Earth. It's just so incredibly beautiful. Got to see lightning ripple down a weather front for 300 miles. See a dust storm across the Sahara that's 100 miles wide. It was just incredible. Fly through the Aurora Borealis, or the Aurora Australis, actually, is what we flew through on my first mission. And the views were incredible. The Aurora is probably the most beautiful thing I've seen on the planet. And to actually be up at the same altitude, to fly through them, have it fly through you sometimes, was really, really a treat. And I'll never, ever forget that. And the great thing about it is all this entire experience, everything I'm telling you about, was enabled through people who pursued careers in education in STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics make space programs happen. And we need more people to go into these fields. It's that important. And all of us gives a little. The effect we can have will be a lot. I am very, very blessed to be chairman of the board of Challenger Centers for Space Science Education. And each year, that organization puts literally thousands of children through an experience that makes them excited about space and excited about STEM careers and subjects. And that's what we're trying to do today, too. We're trying to enable an organization, Space Camp, that makes people excited about STEM careers in education, because it can be exciting. It is exciting. It enables us to do absolutely incredible things. So I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I'm very much looking forward to your questions and your follow-up. Thanks again.
And good evening, everyone. We are going live with Andrea Hansen, the Chair Emeritus of the Space Camp Alumni Association Board. And Andrea is going to have our live astronaut talk. Andrea?
Good evening to our Space Camp family and friends. Hello, I'm Dr. Andrea Hansen, coming live here from Houston, Texas. And as Diana said, I am the Chair Emeritus of the Space Camp Alumni Association Board. And tonight, I have the extreme privilege of introducing you all to a couple of very special guests tonight. We have two former Space Shuttle astronauts with us tonight, and I'd like to give a really warm welcome to Kent Rominger and Robert Kirby. Hi, guys. Well, we just enjoyed that fantastic video from Robert Kirby, and both will continue to share their stories of becoming astronauts and training for multiple space missions. And I'd like to start with just a brief introduction of these two incredible individuals. Former astronaut Captain Kent Rominger, U.S. Navy retired, is originally from Del Norte, Colorado. Rominger earned his bachelor's in science in civil engineering from Colorado State University, go Rammies, and a master in science in aeronautical engineering from the U.S. Naval Postgraduate School. He is a member of the Association of Space Explorers, the AIAA, and the Mars Generation, to name a few. And before becoming an astronaut, Kent served as a test pilot, trained in the F-14 Tomcat, and attended the Navy Fighter Weapons School, better known as Top Gun. He completed a Desert Storm deployment in the Persian Gulf, and he's logged over 5,000 flying hours in over 35 types of aircraft and 685 carrier landings. That's pretty incredible. He reported to the Johnson Space Center in August of 1992 with NASA Group 14 and is a veteran of 5 space flights, including STS-73, 80, 85, 96, and 100. He also served as the chief of the astronaut office and has logged over 1,600 hours in space. Let's give a warm welcome to Kent Rominger. Next, I'd like to introduce Robert Kirby, also former astronaut. Captain Robert Kirby, U.S. Navy retired, is originally from Baltimore, Maryland. Kirby earned a bachelor's in science in aerospace engineering from the U.S. Naval Academy, a master's of science in aeronautical engineering, and a second master's in astronautical engineering, both from the Naval Postgraduate School. He is a member of the U.S. Naval Academy Alumni Association and the Association of Old Pros. Before becoming an astronaut, Robert served as a naval flight officer, test pilot, and engineer. He made several overseas deployments and attended the prestigious Navy Fighter Weapons School, and keep this in mind for the trivia later, also known as Top Gun. He reported to Johnson Space Center in March of 1995 with NASA Group 15 and is a veteran of 3 space flights, STS-85, 98, and 116. He has completed 7 EVAs, which is incredible, and logged more than 900 hours in space. Wow, we are so lucky to have this opportunity to talk with both of you. And I just wanted to thank you for being here for our really unique virtual Summer Fest event, sharing time with our alumni community that is now nearly 1 million alumni strong, and all those future hopeful space campers and astronauts out there. Thank you for being here. All right, I have a list of questions for you guys. I know our audience is going to be really excited to hear about. We're going to run through them. A lot of them are for both of you to answer and respond to. Some of them are going to be directed to one or the other. So let's dive in here. You both have extremely impressive biographies with incredible roles both in the military and at NASA. So here's my first question to both of you. What part of your training or career development do you think best prepared you for your role as an astronaut? And we'll start this one with Kent.
So I really think, once I left college, I joined the Navy. In the Navy as a fighter pilot, and by the way, Beamer and I have very similar backgrounds, and we first met at the test center in flying a Tomcat together when I was a test pilot and Beamer was applying to go to test pilot school. But anyway, the military is very structured. In the Navy, particularly flying on and off aircraft carrier, because it is such a hazardous environment, they really drive discipline and safety. Really does kind of shape your thinking and your mind on how, when you're in situations that could be hazardous, how to be very disciplined and calculating. So I think my Navy career had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, safety is every mission's top priority and concern. Sounds like it was a great training ground. Robert, how about you?
Oh gosh, unfortunately, you're going to hear a very similar answer from me. Being a naval flight officer, one of the most important things you learn is to be calm, think slowly, and act quickly. And I think that my experience being a naval officer and a naval flight officer, my aviation experience during that time actually helped me remain calm when things weren't going exactly perfectly in space or during space flights. And I think that really, really, really helped me be a better astronaut. And obviously, flying with Kent, that all by itself was helpful because he's an awesome guy.
That's awesome. So I'm hearing it. You learn from each other just as much as you do from your background and your training grounds. That's very cool. All right. Next up, as you might know, I think you're both pretty familiar with the Space Camp programs. When our trainees arrive to Space Camp, they're assigned to teams of 12 to 16 trainees. The teams train together, they eat together, they go into the end of week missions together. As astronauts, you too were assigned to a team or an astronaut class. I was wondering if you can both talk about the importance of training together with that team, the support of the more veteran teams, and how that helps you prepare for your space missions. And for this one, let's start with Robert.
Well, I think anytime you're going to have a team effort, when you all have one common goal, it's important to know, the trends and tendencies and just how other people think. It makes you much more efficient. I was blessed with not only flying Tomcats with Ramo a couple times, but also flying a space flight with him, and then being around the office with him. And so I felt like when I finally did, after 6 months of training with him, go up into space, I felt like I knew the things that he liked and how he liked things done. So I could somewhat anticipate what he was going to want. And that's really, really important, especially when you're in the critical phase of the flight, like ascent. It's really, really important that the 3 people on the flight deck work together to make sure that we're successful in the end. And just all that time spent with the same people, with the same team helps out. And it actually expands. It's not just the crew. It's also the people in mission control that you're training with all that time. So it's very, very valuable time spent. And it helps you be more effective as a team because you learn what people want and what can make them better. And also, what actually distracts them from doing the job.
I think it's great that you mentioned that ground control component, because it's easy to forget when you're watching the mission and you're watching the astronauts go through their checklists and their tasks. It's easy to forget that there's a whole crowd and of community of people on the ground actually helping to carry out that mission as well. So it's great that you reference that part too. Kent.
Yes, and so I'm just going to pile on because I'm in 100% agreement with what Beamer just said. But, what you start appreciating is how important teamwork is and how all of us are very different. Because people, even though we may have very similar education backgrounds, as individuals, we're different. And what you learn, what I learned was how to best contribute to the team from what I could do. Later on as a leader, how you get the most out of a team by leveraging the different skills, the different aptitudes, the different aspects that we as humans bring to it. And then the same with the ground, right? It's so important to be as connected as possible with the mission control centers that you're working with, whether they're in Russia or Houston. And you have to work at it, right? Communication is hard. So we always talk about teamwork, and teamwork didn't just happen naturally. The art of communicating, for me, has always taken a lot of effort, a lot of thought ahead of time to make sure that I do communicate well, as does the team. But anyway, teamwork is so important.
Yeah, wow. National component too, because teamwork, while working across seas, can be really interesting as well.
It really can, particularly with languages. And so the various languages, and maybe you're not as proficient in Russian as an example. And so you do, as you grow together, kind of back to Beamer stories, you get to know your teammates, particularly your international teammates. You can communicate pretty well, even without knowing the language as well as you would like. So
that's great. And I just wanted to build on one more component of your professional experience, Ken. You served as chief of the astronaut office. So you saw new generations come through. I'm just curious to know if you can speak to the generational changes and how teamwork kind of shifted and changed, or maybe what stayed the same.
So it's actually really neat to have new folks come into the office. And so because they do bring that generational change, their aptitude, certainly for computers, but IT, as that was becoming more and more prevalent in what we were doing, was really important. The flip side is when I was a chief, we spent a couple of years not flying because we had lost Columbia. And so unfortunately, these new folks that came in, now they kind of had the fear of maybe they wouldn't get a flight because we weren't flying and we had to get our feet back on the ground. So one of the things I did was spend quite a bit of time listening to them, understanding their concerns and their fears, because I didn't naturally have those. I had been there, just like Beamer, didn't naturally have those either. And so I learned so much from them by sitting down with them as a class and just listening. So it's really interesting how much I did learn. And it was kind of neat because I think I was able to communicate back that, it's all going to work out. Just calm down. We're going to work through this. And we did. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think, just highlighting that listening component, it's so easy to feel like you're in the hot seat. You have to have an answer ready. Just to have that capability to sit back, listen, synthesize, and let people know they've been heard. It can go a long way.
Yeah, great point.
All right. Kent, this one is for you. You served as a shuttle pilot and a commander. Both roles require unwavering focus and come along with the responsibility to lead the crew through a safe and successful mission. How did your training prepare you to make mission critical decisions on demand and take on that level of responsibility?
Yeah, so I can tell you it would not have worked out well if I had not had all of the great training I did. And, one of the beauties of NASA, and probably just like in Space Camp, like the Challenger Center, we put people in very trying situations. And so in the training you're going through, one of the things I learned the systems very well, because it's painful when you don't know them well and you're given a failure and it turns out to be a bad day. But the other thing I learned was how important it was to always be thinking ahead. I always, in the simulators at NASA, the training team, they're awesome, but they're also brilliant, right? And they can figure out some very sinister, sneaky, subtle failures that can make the space shuttle fail in a heartbeat if you don't manage them well. And so what I learned was to always be thinking in my mind, what is the next worst failure they could give me? What is a failure I really don't want to see right now? Because a lot of times that's what you would see. So it was really the training and the whole mentality to approach in a situation. So when you do have an actual failure, you're somewhat prepared for it. And Beamer, I'm 100% agreement. When something is going wrong, you need to really understand what it is before you start, working on the system, throwing switches, because you don't want to make the problem worse. And I know Hoot Gibson was on earlier. He had a saying I loved: there isn't any situation so bad that you can't throw a switch and make it worse.
Yeah, that's great. The fact that you talk about the simulation trainers throwing those sinister mission simulations, I know that's going to speak really loudly to a lot of our trainees and our Space Camp alumni. Our mission simulations were affectionately known as Space Ghosts, and they were the ones responsible for coming up with the very experience, either in the space shuttle or the space station, and now in our future Mars simulations. And our trainees go through that same experience of needing to be able to stop, assess the situation, and make some really important decisions and work together as a team to work through those. And I think later on in our virtual mission simulations, you're going to see an example of a couple of those play out. Well, thank you for that. Robert, this next one's for you. EVAs, or extravehicular activities, are one of the most exciting parts of the mission that Space Camp trainees participate in. During their week at camp, trainees get to experience working on a microgravity wall to construct a communications satellite, or go out on the robotic arm to replace a radiator. And the Advanced Academy students even go into the underwater astronaut trainer to train in neutral buoyancy with scuba gear. Now, Robert, you've had 7 EVAs actually outside of the space shuttle floating in space. Can you share with us some of what you experienced training-wise for your EVAs and what that experience of being outside the space shuttle really felt like?
Well, the interesting thing about it, Andrea, is that when you're training for it, they don't have a zero-G room where you can train for your spacewalk exactly as it's going to be when you're out there. So what they do is they put you in a lot of different types of training situations that if you kind of take the best of each of them, it will prepare you for it. But at the end of the day, once you get out there, you got to figure that out. Which parts apply, which parts don't in each type of training. So we do everything from, we would go into the pool, which everyone knows about, which gives you fit and form training, which is pretty darn good and helps you out a lot. But the difference is when you're in the water, it's hard to start moving and easy to stop. And when you're in space, it's just the opposite. It's easy to start moving and hard to stop. And also it requires a lot more fine adjustments when you're in space. For instance, once you do stop yourself, unless there's a force that you use to stop yourself is right through your center of mass, which it never is, you start to rotate. And then you have to stop the rotation, which usually isn't perfect. So then it causes rotation in another axis and maybe some translation. So it's a series of fine adjustments. And probably the best advice I got was from a guy named Joe Tanner, who was also a spacewalker at NASA. And he said, whatever you do, go slowly. And he was absolutely right. Absolutely right. The slower you are, the faster you are. Because if you try to do something quickly, it usually ends up in you screwing something up. So that was really good advice. So the pool's one thing. They also have something called a pogo, where they hang you from the ceiling on a column of air. And that allows you to get used to things like how when you use the cordless drill, it's going to try to rotate you, and you've got to fight that. We also have the air-bearing floor, where in 2 dimensions, you can actually experience moving around that 1,500-pound item that you're going to do in space. So you kind of used to the mass property. And like I said, by themselves, none of these pieces of training is perfect. VR Lab is another one where we actually go through an entire EVA virtually. So where we've got the headsets on and we're moving around station. We take all of the best parts of each of these training, and it comes kind of close to what it's going to be like in space. But like I said, until you've actually done it, you don't know which parts apply and which parts don't. So all of that training, when you roll it all together, makes you very, very prepared. And like I said, I can't say enough about the people who prepared me, the team, the EVA team, the ground control people. They were all absolutely amazing. But at the end of the day, there is a little bit of on-the-job training, on-orbit training that goes on, where you learn about yourself, your tendencies, and how it's really going to feel once you're out there.
Wow, that's just phenomenal. I'm just wondering if you can share. It sounds like training in the pool where you're used to really using a lot of energy to get started and to stop again. That was maybe the reverse from what you actually experienced in 0G. Do you have can you share any experiences that maybe that first or second time that you went out and maybe you pushed off a little too hard, or do you feel like you were pretty in control the whole time? Any fun stories from outside the hatch?
I felt pretty in control most of the time. Probably the one time control of everything that's going on was on my first spacewalk. We had an ammonia leak in a system that I was reconfiguring. Sprayed ammonia all over the front of my suit. At some places it was up to an inch thick of ammonia ice on the suit, and I was definitely not in control of that situation, unfortunately. And a lot of it was made difficult because they had predicted a certain amount of force used to open the valve, and it was actually much, much more force than that. They said it was going to be about 25 pounds. I lift a lot of weights, and trust me, it was a lot more than 25 pounds. I would estimate at least 4 to 5 times that. And so that was one of those situations where I definitely had to use, as Rommel was talking about earlier, my knowledge of the systems, understanding how I could correct the problem, because the particular failure I had was one that they said was not credible when we were talking about it on the ground. And obviously we found out it is. So that's probably one of the pieces where I felt out of control. But because of that, I had to decontaminate the suit, and then I felt in ultimate control because I got to sit for an entire day pass and just stay in the sun and let the ammonia bake off the front of my suit. And that was incredible. It was a day pass over Asia. I'll never forget it. And my whole job was just to keep my face towards the sun. And I had the opportunity to get the best view of the Earth you can ever get as an astronaut. And I think about that time very, very fondly, even though it was caused by an unfortunate act.
Wow, that sounds incredible. And just, it sounds like you can train and train and train for all of the planned events, but there will be something that pops up. And so I think it sounds like going into an EVA, you almost have to be ready for the unexpected and ready for a curveball to come your way. Is that kind of the mentality you bring outside with you, or do you just, hope that everything goes as planned?
I think that's a mentality that astronauts have all the time. We're in simulators I can't think of a time when everything went perfectly. I mean, their job is to break the system, and your job is to mitigate the risk associated with how they've broken the system, trainers. And so none of the practice runs you do as far as spacewalking, as far as doing acid entry, doing the different simulators, is nominal. It's all off nominal. It's all them breaking things and you trying to make sure that whatever they broke doesn't kill you. So it was just, I would say you go in with the adage that you've got to be prepared for any failure, regardless of what it is, even the failures that they just haven't even thought of before. And part of that, to what Kent was saying, is knowing the system, knowing them extremely well, and using that knowledge to help you figure out how to correct the problem you get.
Awesome. We just had a question come in from the audience, actually, and they're wondering, were you ever worried about space debris?
So I'll take that. There is obviously a lot of space debris up there. For the most part, anything larger than the size of a softball, it's tracked. So as an example, on one of my flights, and Beamer, I can't remember if it was our flight or not, but there was a Soviet lunar lander in a highly elliptical orbit. So it would come into low Earth orbit, and then it would go back out around the moon and then come back in. We got a call to go ahead and do a collision avoidance maneuver. And I looked like crazy. I could never see that lander. I really wanted to see it because obviously very historic. Right? It had been in orbit for several decades at this point. When we come back, they do replace a fair amount of the glass, the windows that are on the space shuttle, because they take micrometeorite hits. And then same, you'll see little holes in the space shuttle. Fortunately, throughout the space shuttle history, I don't think there was ever a huge amount of damage from debris. So again, something that's like golf ball size or baseball size, it isn't tracked. If it does hit your spacecraft or like Beamer out doing a spacewalk, again, it's going to be a bad. Knock on wood, that has never happened.
Well, yeah, thank goodness. I know NASA does track that closely, and you're ready for that when it comes your way as well. So awesome. All right, this next one is for both of you. We are now in the era of commercial spaceflight. Crew Dragon just splashed down. What an exciting event that was. So this is a pretty major paradigm shift for NASA and requires a lot of teamwork and trust in a new way of doing business to protect the mission and protect the lives of our astronauts. What do you think are the most important lessons from NASA's 50+ years of human spaceflight experience you would want these commercial companies to continue to apply to their new programs? And where do you think they'll be able to demonstrate opportunities to do things a little differently, and that will change the way that we collectively think about space travel? Kent, let's start with you.
All right. So it's really interesting, right? Because if you compare commercial today, where they did along with NASA, right? So they do gain a lot of knowledge, a lot of lessons learned from NASA, because NASA is involved, even though it was a SpaceX rocket, and SpaceX designed the rocket, there's a certain amount of involvement when it comes to flying the crew, because it is a NASA crew, right? So it's a combined NASA mission on a commercial system. And I think the most important thing is NASA has learned a lot of lessons with all their experience. They've documented them. They've come up with processes that ensure reliability is extremely high and that we fly the crews as safely as we possibly can. And so for a new company coming on board, I think that very mentality, the same one that NASA had when NASA was going through it the first time, to know, hey, we've got to, kind of the whole theme of this talk, this evening has been thinking about those problems that are going to come along. How do we mitigate those problems? How do we set ourselves up for success such that we either have a redundant system or a workaround to problems? And as you follow these, you see that these commercial companies, we have lost rockets, we have lost capsules. Fortunately, there hasn't been humans in them, and commercial companies learn from that and then incorporate those lessons so that while we do have humans, we've got to fly them safely. The other thing is incorporating systems like the abort system, that all the vehicles on them that are flying in space now have them, is really important for the safety of humans. And sadly, that was one of the things we did not have on the space shuttle, was any kind of abort system to get the ascent if there was a problem, where you can do that now with all of these systems. So with that, I'll turn it over to Beamer.
Well, I couldn't agree more, and I just pile on a little bit as usual. At the end of the day, I would say the most important thing is just make sure that all the different companies and NASA learn from each other. That's what's most important. Exactly what Rommel was saying, and I'll give you a really quick example of it. And I had the pleasure of talking to the first Soviet that made a spacewalk. And then I had the pleasure of reading about the first US spacewalk. And they happened just a few months apart, but the bottom line is many of the problems that the Soviets had with their first spacewalk and a lot of the issues and mistakes made were also made by the US when they did their first spacewalk. Imagine if they were talking to one another, we could have learned a lot from what they did and not made those same mistakes. So we wanna make sure that all the commercial companies and NASA learn from one another so that we get better every time. The whole beauty of doing it the way they're doing it now is that we have more people attacking the problem. And that means more ideas on how to attack the problem. Some are gonna be good, some are gonna be bad. We're gonna make some mistakes and we're gonna have some problems. But if everybody can learn from one person or one group's problems, in the end, we'll get to a better place.
I think that's awesome. I'm so excited to see the partnerships that NASA is able to make because these companies now are in existence. And I'm just super excited about what they've already achieved and what we have to look forward to even in the coming months and coming years. So awesome. All right, another question from the following on to mistakes being made message, what was the most interesting thing you adjust to with gravity when you're back on Earth? Robert, it looks like you might have an experience to share. Why don't you start?
Yes, I do. Everybody reacts differently going up and adjusting the space and coming back. And my big thing is just remember never to walk in one direction and turn my head in another. Because I tend to stumble and fall down if I try to do that. And that was the big thing, just letting your body tell you how fast you can get back to normal life. Because you really want to just come down, macho about it and just get right back into normal life. And it just does not work that way. At least it doesn't for me. Everybody's different. And so my big thing is, I stand up, wait until I stop graying out, and when I can see again, then I start walking. And then when I'm walking, if I need to look somewhere except for straight ahead, I stop, turn my head back to straight forward, and then I'll walk again. And getting used to being very deliberate in that, it takes a little while, and you got to screw up a couple of times before you realize you have to do that. But I would say that's probably the most interesting part for me. Coming back. Now, having said that, with each space flight, I adjusted to space more quickly, but with each space flight coming home, it took me longer to adjust back to Earth's gravity.
That's great. Just got to take it slow and easy. How about you, Ken?
Very similar, right? And so both Beamer and I flew on the shuttle, which were short missions, a couple of weeks. And after my very first mission, when we came back, I think it was a 16-day mission. We rolled out, and when I went to stand up out of the pilot seat, I didn't. I thought, oh my God, I can't even stand up. And so I tried again, and I was able to stand up. But I felt like I had Beamer sitting on my shoulders, right, where I could stand up, but I had to work so incredibly hard. And it's as if my system had forgotten how hard it had to work. I don't think I was that weak. I had just forgotten about it. And yeah, your neurovestibular system usually gets confused. And so, when I stood up after crawling out of the hatch, I immediately almost fell over. And there were two very senior NASA folks standing there that had to grab me. And I was kind of embarrassed. but we're kind of all different. Unlike Beamer, on each flight, when I got back to Earth, I adapted more quickly coming back. So after my final flight, I was maybe within a few hours, I felt pretty normal. Unlike on my very first flight after it was about 2 weeks before my neurovestibular system felt normal to me.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, we often hear that repeat flyers kind of make that transition a little bit easier. Each flight, it gets a little easier to go both into space and adapt to microgravity and also come back to Earth. Sounds like that's what you've experienced.
It is.
Wow. Oh, guys, well, our conversation has come back to Earth, and sadly, we have to turn this back over to Mission Control down here. We have so many questions. We could talk all night, but I just can't thank you enough for spending time with us tonight. And I know there are so many online right now that have been inspired by astronauts like you, by their time at Space Camp or Aviation Challenge. They're hopeful trainees who want to become astronauts or be a part of the space community. Can you both just leave our audience with some parting words on what it takes to accomplish the level of achievement that you have in becoming an astronaut?
Okay, I'll go first. Yeah. My advice, which is really basic, is follow your passion. If you love to do something, work hard at doing it. Perseverance is something that NASA values, because most of us that applied the first time were not chosen to be an astronaut, and many persevered multiple times. And so just keep following your dreams and working hard at it, and you can absolutely succeed. And the other thing I want to say is, hey, with Space Camp, when I first got to NASA, in my class, there were 25 of us. We pretty quickly got to go through the Space Camp in Huntsville. And we had such a phenomenal time. We went over there in the evening, and it was open just to us. And we had such a great time. It was a great bonding experience for us as a class because we were relatively new, but really appreciated everything that Space Camp. Huge fan of Space Camp, and best of luck with everything. So
that's so cool.
Thank you.
Robert?
Yeah, I agree. I always tell people, success is born out of education, hard work, perseverance. And my esteemed colleague, Captain Romier, has already talked about hard work and perseverance. So I want to concentrate on the education side. And not all the education is out of books, not all of it's in the classroom. Some of it's experiential. And it's important that we, who are now towards the end of our careers, I won't say we're old, but we're towards the end of our professional careers, make sure that we prepare to the younger generation to pick up that torch and run with it. And part of that is to have them experience how exciting STEM can be. Because, I've grown up with it. My mother was a chemistry teacher. I've known nothing but, science and math and engineering my entire life. And so it's always been very, very exciting for me. But some people don't have chemistry teachers for mothers. Some people don't have the opportunity to live, eat, and breathe science from age 2 to 58 now. For those people, we've got to get them to it. We've got to show them how exciting it is. And what you guys are doing here by trying to encourage people to help us put people through Space Camp, and like I was saying in my video, what we do at Challenger Centers, that's what it's all about, getting that next generation excited about what all of us already know. And that's that science, technology, engineering, and math can be exciting. It is exciting. And we want you to join our club.
Fantastic. What a powerful message. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank the alumni community that has pulled together to quite literally help us save Space Camp so that generations to come will be able to have that experience. So once again, thank you guys so much. This has been fantastic. Diana, back to you in Mission Control.
All right, great. We are going to go check in on our mission crew.
Now we rejoin our crew as they prepare for TLI. Remember what that is? Well, let's hope our crew does. They flipped the wrong switch here and they'll miss the moon entirely.
Time for TLI. Pilot, ILS to off.
ILS to off.
Radar display system. It's me. Oh, how do I zoom out? Oh, this one. Oh, I see. Got him. Sorry, guys.
You're doing great, Commander.
Okay.
Go back to your crew activity plan, sir.
Pilot, engage. We need main engine burn, and you're going to engage on my command.
How much?
Moon's pretty far away. I'd say give it all full thrust.
All right, ready to engage. 3, 2, 1, engage.
Engaged. Ludicrous speed. We've gone plaid. Very cool. We're coming about. Getting a good view of the moon there. There we go. Good burn.
On our way.
Looks like a good burn for TLI.
Speed 750.
Enjoy the
One of my favorite places to be in the whole world is the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama, home to Space Camp and Aviation Challenge. Hi, my name is Danny Haggis, and I'm a member of the Space Camp Hall of Fame class of 2010. For the past 27 years, I've taken kids to Space Camp, and my students have enjoyed it. It has changed their lives. It has inspired them. Space Camp and Aviation Challenge have inspired me. So during this time, I encourage all the alumni to donate to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center Educational Fund. In fact, this year I've left education, and along with my lovely forever bride, Laura, we have started a new business called. We've developed a product line of dehydrated foods. So a portion of the sales of Danny's Rocket Ranch Space Salsa will be donated to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center Educational Fund for scholarships. We're going live with the website www.dannysrocketranch.com on August the 15th. So consider ordering and knowing in fact that when you order Space Salsa, you'll be helping students go to Space Camp and Aviation Challenge. Be excellent to each other and donate to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center Educational Fund.
Hello, my name is Suzanne Salt. I reside in California, where I work as a first assistant director and on occasion, director for a CBS television show. I attended Space Camp in the summer of 1985 when Space Camp the movie was being filmed at the Rocket Center. After my camp experience, I definitely wanted to attend again, but my parents reminded me I was lucky enough to go once. My time at Space Camp molded my desire to become an astronaut. But after taking inorganic chemistry in college, I realized very quickly being an astronaut was not attainable. Instead, I chose the next best thing, working in television. Thank you for your support and interest in our virtual event.
I'm here to tell you about my experience with Space Camp. First, let me start off by saying I absolutely loved the experience. It was so much fun, and I can't wait to go back next year. I got to learn a lot through Space Camp, but I also got to get a lot of confidence and friendship. Let me talk a little bit more about the friendships that I've made. I got to meet people from all across the world, really. I got to meet people from all across the US, but also people all the way from China. That's something that I wouldn't get to do normally in my day-to-day school life or just day-to-day life. And the nice thing is, even though we haven't really seen each other face to face, all my team, we all stay in touch through like a group chat. Also, we got to learn a lot of teamwork. For our missions, we got to work together and use knowledge that we learned earlier in the week and have to work all together in order to work towards a collective goal. I thought that was like a really nice skill that we got to learn because that's a skill that you use every single day in the real world, having to work together with a team and use everyone's knowledge to work towards a goal. Also, Space Camp gave me a lot more courage that I wouldn't have normally had. Being a girl in the STEM field, there aren't always as many resources or opportunities given to us, but Space Camp gave so many opportunities to me, and they didn't ask why I wanted to pursue a career in the space industry. They asked how they could help me pursue a career in the space industry. That was really nice, and it gave me a lot of confidence to know, yes, I can do this. And also, last thing, it was just super fun. It was super fun to just go throughout this fun learning experience and just learn so much, but also have it in such a fun environment. And you feel so like confident just wearing your mission suit, and it's just an awesome experience. I would highly recommend going to Space Camp. And like I said, I can't wait to go back. Also, I would like to say thank you to anyone who has already donated to Save Space Camp. And I would just like to say thank you so much to Space Camp for giving me the opportunity to go. Thank you. Bye.
Hey everyone, my name is John Hecker and I'm one of your Space Camp Alumni Association board members. My family and I currently live in New York, but we're planning on moving back to Alabama next year. I attended Space Academy Level 1 in 1988 with my good friend Chad Driver, who is also an Alumni Association board member. I deliver packages throughout the world as a pilot for UPS Airlines, flying the Queen of the Skies, the Boeing 747. I was inducted into the Space Camp Hall of Fame in 2017 with 3 very impressive women. I'm a lieutenant colonel serving the United States Marine Corps Reserves, and I'm a former Blue Angel who piloted their beloved C-130, Fat Albert. I was inspired to go to Space Camp by my parents and others, including my old neighbor, General Bob Stewart.
Space Camp fun, ingenious, and a great way to learn. The experience is one I would do many times, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's remotely interested in space. You can learn with a hands-on encounter that shows a glimpse into the galaxy and beyond.
Hi, my name is Marlon Mackey, better known at Space Camp as Ms. Mackey, and Space Camp has helped to make me a better teacher. The first time I took my 5th graders to Space Camp, I could see the amazing learning opportunities for my students, and I knew this was something that all children needed to experience. So I was able to organize a yearly trip for the 5th graders at my school. And then for 30 years, I continued to bring my students and even offered an adult camp for their parents that came with them. Space Camp just got better and better. In my early years at Space Camp, I attended the educator camp where I made new friends, learned a lot about myself, and got hooked on learning more about NASA and our space program. This inspired me to revise my science program to include a lot more aerospace activities. Returning as a trainee 10 years later with a group of presidential awardees was not only fun, it was bonding with new friends, creating new ways to teach, and extending our collective learning. Space Camp is ever-changing to keep abreast of current explorations. It is always developing new challenges for trainees, appropriately based on their age and skill set. While immersed in living as if they were part of the space program, my students experienced appreciation for others, collaboration, problem solving, using their critical thinking skills, as well as learning about the many facets of our space program. As a member of the Space Camp Hall of Fame, I have made yet more lifelong friends. We hope that many students will find Space Camp as rewarding as we have. It was life-changing. I have seen how my Space Camp experiences have catalyzed my teaching of science. I highly recommend a Space Camp experience to all my teaching peers and non-educators alike.
Hi everyone, I'm Dave Hernley from Newport News, Virginia. I'm a software engineer specializing in interactive entertainment and simulations. I attended Space Academy Level 1 back in 1987, followed by Space Academy Level 2 in 1988. Every year, I couldn't wait to get into the simulators. It was an experience I cannot possibly explain. It was amazing, and I can't wait to go back.
My favorite memory of Space Camp is when I was in charge of our second mock mission, head of mission control. A little stressful, a little confusing at times, but still very fun, and taught me that maybe I should stay on the ground.
And losing track of time on my spacewalk outside of the space shuttle and probably being left alone in space while the rest of the crew descended safely home taught me that I should maybe never be an astronaut. It did teach me that being curious can always be fun. And although we may still have our spacesuit that does not fit, we really hope that kids can get there next summer and get back to Huntsville, Alabama and have a bunch of fun.
Hi guys, I am Samantha Johnson. I'm a library director in the Chicago suburbs, and I attended Space Camp as a 5th grader in August of 2000.
Hi Space Camp, my name is Jamie, and I work in renewable energy. I went to Space Camp in 1995 when I was in grade 5, and my teacher, Mrs. Mackey, made sure that we got to go. I remember my friends and I getting to try the multi-access trainer and doing the mission to space. What I remember most is that there were all sorts of different people who had to work together on our mission in order for it to be successful. The pilots, all of the different people at mission control, scientists, we all had a role to play for our mission to be a success. This COVID-19 thing is awful and new, and it's something none of us have ever experienced before. But together, we're going to get through it. My hope is that when we can finally come together again, that the students of tomorrow are going to get to go back to Space Camp and learn that teamwork really does make the dream work and help us launch into all new adventures.
Now the Orion capsule and our astronaut trainees are on their way to the moon. The actual flight time is approximately 72 hours. Plenty of time to relax, right? Wrong. This isn't a joyride. It's time for in-flight operations. Time to conduct some scientific experiments.
Let's see, let's do experiment 38-1A. This is the STEAM experiment. So
Ooh, that sounds dangerous.
Right? We're going to record the effects of zero gravity on bacterial growth. So switch your panels to lab. So ops, begin recording by taking record REC to on, O-N.
Operations?
Can you please repeat? I did not copy.
I'm not sure these folks are flight ready.
Take REC to on, O-N.
REC is on.
All right, payload specialist, disperse, oh, this sounds dangerous. Disperse experiment 38 alpha.
Experiment dispersed.
Okay, I'm going to open the sample container. This is, what hazard level is this?
You never know.
All right, open. So now I'm going to dip the swab into the sample. What could go wrong? Is everybody doing this?
Huh?
Is it just me doing this, or is everybody doing this?
No, you're the mission specialist for this experiment. So for this experiment, it's you.
Oh, well, you guys better say your prayers. So now we're going to cover the Petri dish with swab. Okay. And then we'll close the sample container. And, of course, dispose of the used swab.
Perfect.
And we're going to observe the growth for 2 minutes.
Looks like we got a little bit of growth there.
These are technically complex. Not everything goes according to plan. Let's see how our team handles an anomaly.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, we have an error.
You have a problem.
Uh-oh, biohazard breach detected.
I didn't do it.
Commander, we may have a crew activity plan for just such an event.
I've seen this movie. It doesn't end well.
No, it doesn't. It never ends well. Where do I go?
Check your crew activity plan.
Is anyone going to look at their checklist?
Do you have any appendixes that might?
I don't. Where's my career activity plan? I'm not seeing it in my cap.
Towards the bottom of your name list there on your cap.
Oh, sensor instrument failures.
Environmental hazards.
Commander, I'm having trouble breathing.
I don't have that on my screen.
A joke like that will panic everyone in mission control. You're not being paid to be a comedian.
I only have environmental hazards.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Oh, I was trying to say. Okay, sorry. Mission specialist, clean the area thoroughly.
Okay.
You should have a button to complete that activity.
Right. We should go to cleaning. How's that? We got duct tape. It'll be fine.
Oh, okay. Well, if you have duct tape, then forget the electronic.
Duct tape? Do they think Neil Armstrong used duct tape?
It is.
What's going on up there?
I see
There.
It's only
bacteria.
breathing. It's only breathing we have to do. It's okay.
Hold on.
I think we need to make a side trip to the sick bay.
Yeah. Mission specialist, sanitize the area thoroughly.
Sanitize. Yes, sir.
All right. Payload specialist, vent to open for 30 seconds.
Roger that. Venting to open.
I hope we have our suits on.
Venting.
Oh.
There we go. Cabin is clear.
Thank goodness.
Cabin
Good
is
job,
clear.
team. Whew. That was a close
We're all
call.
safe.
Close one.
Are we still pointing at the moon?
Yeah, it looks like it. All things considered, we're all still here. The capsule's still going towards the big gray ball. So good job so far. But we're not done.
But wait, there's more.
Yes.
Is that foreshadowing?
Well, that was tense, but not bad for new recruits. The ship is still in one piece, so nice work.
All right, everyone. Now we are going to go live over to Space Bowl Trivia. So trivia team, take it away.
Hey there. Thanks a lot, Diana. Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Hernley, and I'll be your trivia instructor for tonight's virtual Space Bowl, the first one we've done. Now, our contestants will be participating and answering 20 multiple choice questions, as well as a double points bonus round of true false at the end. Now, scoring is not just based on answering correctly, but how quickly they respond. So time is of the essence. As you watch, feel free to play along and see and test your own knowledge and see how well you did. So, hey, contestants, what do you say we get your buzzers ready and let's switch over and get started. All right, everyone. Contestants, here we go. Good luck to all of you. 2, 1. Who was the first man to orbit the Earth? Ooh, all right. Looks like most of you got it. Yuri Gagarin. Congratulations. All right, team. Let's keep going. And Space Zebra is in the lead narrowly after Fast Boa there. So it looks like it's already a tight competition. Next question. Dragon capsule to the ISS. All answers are in, and look at this, a perfect score. 18, Bob and Doug, and of course, no, not the McKinsey brothers. All right, contestants, here we go. Next question. Oh, Fast Boa now overtakes, again, narrowly, real tight competition at the top here. Let's keep going. This monkey knot once lived and is now buried at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Ooh, got a mixture here. 9 of you got it correct, which of course is Mrs. Baker. All right, let's see how we're doing. Oh, Fast Boa maintains the lead, again narrowly over Silver Deer, Mighty Leopard, Gentle Alpaca, and Arctic Dragon. Here we go, next question. Which is not a part of the STS? Let's see how they do here. Ooh, all right, all right. 11 of you did get it correctly. The SLS is not a part of the STS. Let's see how our standings are. Fastbow is still maintaining the lead narrowly over Silver Deer. Mighty Leopard right behind them. Anything right now, it's anybody's game. Let's keep pressing on. Name this satellite. This is a visual trivia question, of course. Ooh, 15 of you answered right away. That's excellent. Waiting on a few more answers. Oh, we're gonna run out. Oh no. And okay. 16 of you got it right. Sputnik, of course. All right. How are we doing on the standings? Ooh, everybody maintain their location. Look at this. All right. Let's press on. What was unique about the ejection system on the F-111? Oh, yeah, a little indecision on this one, but 10 of you did in fact get it correct. The crew is ejected in a contained capsule. All right, how does that affect our standings? Oh, Gentle Alpaca actually is on a streak there, and positions have shifted a little bit, but Fastbow is still maintaining the lead, again, narrowly. All right, let's press on. Question 7. Name the only space shuttle that landed but never launched. Ooh, lots of quick answers here. A few more left. One more to go. They gonna guess? Let's find out. All right, okay, so 13 of you absolutely right. The Enterprise, of course, was used for testing the landing system and landing ability of the orbiter. How are our standings doing? Ooh, no changes. Everyone moved up in score, but no shift in the positions right now. All right, let's keep pressing on. Question 8, Top Gun the movie. His call sign was Maverick, but his name was... Oh, we did get a little bit of back and forth there, but 15 got it correctly. Pete Mitchell, of course, was his name. Pete Maverick Mitchell. All right, team, let's roll on. And a little bit of shift there in the top 5, but Fastboa and Silver Deer holding on tight to the top. Next question. The final launch of the Apollo capsule took place on this mission. A little bit of indecision on this one. Lots of answers came in early. Oh, a mixture here. But 9 of you did, in fact, get it correct. The Apollo-Soyuz test project was, in fact, the last launch of the Apollo capsule. How are our standings affected? Oh, again, a little shift in the top 5, but the top 3 holding steady at the moment. We're getting closer and closer to that double points round. Anything could change. Let's press on. Nauseating nickname of the airplane used to simulate microgravity. Lots of quick answers on this one. Oh, look at this, a perfect score. Of course, yes, the Vomit Comet. 18 of you got it exactly right. Any changes in our positioning here? Nope. Rock solid at the top 5, everybody advancing their score. Let's move on. Question 11. Name this legendary space camp simulator. A picture question. Ooh, okay. 15 of you did in fact get it right. The MAT or multi-access trainer. It is not the centrifuge. Do we see any changes in our positioning here? No. Wow, this is really tight, everybody. We're getting closer and closer. Let's keep going. 12. Acronyms. Which of these is not an abort? Again, a little bit all over the place here, but 12 of you did in fact get it correct. TLI or translunar injection is not an abort. All right, everyone. Do we have any change here? Wow. Again, top 5 looking steady. Again, points advancing. Here we go. 13. Who performed the first solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean? Ooh, lots of quick answers here. Okay, yep, 15 of you got it right. Charles Lindbergh, in the Spirit of St. Louis, crossed the Atlantic. All right. Do we have any shifts here in the top 5? No, again, but very tight scoring-wise, very tight. Let's move on. 14. Over the years, NASA's logos have been described as ooh, 17 out of you got it correct. A meatball and a worm. The worm, of course, recently making a comeback. All right, do we have any shifts here? No. Top 5 looking strong, but again, any one wrong answer could change this whole order. Let's roll on. 15. Space Camp the movie. In the film's opening sequence, who winked at Andy? Not everyone's so quick to answer on this one. Still a few left to answer. Almost. How'd everybody do? We're about to find out. Okay, 10 of you are correct. John Glenn winked at Andy, at least according to her. And of course, Space Camp the movie, a great film for all us space campers. Let's see how the top scores are doing. Again, everybody moving up, but look at those scores, very tight. Let's go on to the next one. 16. The space shuttle never landed in oh, yeah, a lot of quick answers there. A few more left, 4 seconds remaining. 14 of you are exactly correct. Arizona, the shuttle never landed in Arizona. Any mix up in the, no. Wow, all right. Let's move on. 17. This twin sister of the Greek god Apollo is the name of NASA's current lunar program. "16 of you nailed it. Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo. And of course, the Artemis missions by NASA with the Orion capsule and otherwise is what is currently in process in our very near future. Do we have any mix-ups on the scoreboard here? No. Wow. Okay. So Fast Boa, Silver Deer, Gentle Alpaca, Mighty Leopard, and Arctic Dragon are really duking it out here. It's going to come down to the wire, folks. Next question. 18. Name this orbiter. A picture trivia question. Well, not everybody's so quick to answer this one. All right, a little bit of mixture on the answers here, but yes, 13 are correct. Columbia. A little bit of a giveaway there is the white fuel tank in the middle. Do we have any mix-ups here? Again, no. But Wow, less than 90 points there. So within a couple hundred points separates the top leaders there. So one wrong move could all change. Let's move on. 819. Who said failure is not an option? No, not everybody's in yet. 2 seconds remaining. Most of you did, in fact, get it correct. Gene Simmons, 13 of you, and or Gene Kranz. Gene Simmons might have said it relative to a concert, but Gene Kranz said it in real life. Let's move on. How are we doing? Again, really tight there. Next question. How many Space Camp alumni went on to become astronauts? Our final multiple choice question. A lot of quick answers. Not everybody's in. Some indecision there. 10 seconds remaining. A few left. Ooh, a split decision here. But yes, 12 is in fact correct. So could this shake up the leaderboard? Let's find out. No, in fact. Wow. Okay, everyone. Now we're going to be going to our bonus round, which is shorter answer times, true-false questions with double the points. Let's go. Eileen Collins was the first female to pilot the space shuttle. True or false? True. She was, in fact, the first to pilot the space shuttle. All right. Do we have any changes here? We do, in fact. Look at this. So a slight shift. Silverdeer has dropped to 5th place, but don't worry, there's more points ahead. Fastbow is still holding on, but again, very tight. Next question. True or false? GLOC stands for gravity-induced loss of consciousness. Well, for the most part, but 9 of you are correct. Gravity-induced loss of consciousness. Any changes? In fact, oh my goodness, we have a shift. Gentle Alpaca has taken the lead and is on fire. All right. Oh, we still have a few more to go. And again, with these points, anything can change. Let's see what happens. Guyon Bulford was the first African American in space. True or false? Ooh, quick answers on this one. 14 of you, absolutely correct. True. Any shifts? Fast Boa climbing back up to 2nd place. This is tight, everyone. We're right down to the last few. Let's see how it shapes out. EVA is the official acronym for a spacesuit. Oh, not everyone answered here, I don't think. $15 of you. Oh, it is in fact. EVA stands for extravehicular activity. So of course it's false. Now, did we have any shifts here? We did. Silverdeer climbs into 2nd place. Gentle Alpaca still holds on to 1st. Fast Boa in 3rd. Arctic Dragon 4th. And Mighty Leopard hanging on to 5th. And here we go. This next question could decide everything. Let's find out. Only 12 human beings have walked on the moon. True or false? Lots of quick answers. Almost done. 14 of you got it correct. Of course, that's true. Let's see how everything shaped up, everybody. This is the end. Who made the podium? 3rd place, Fast Boa. 2nd place, Silverdeer. 1st place, drum roll please, Gentle Alpaca. Congratulations, you did it. Congratulations to everybody. It was a tight competition. Wow. So let me take a moment and say congratulations. What a great competition. And so those of you that just played, please stay on with me after we go. But I just wanted to say, first of all, to everyone that was watching, how did you do in the competition? Did you do well? Do you think you could handle this kind of competition? Did you want to participate and didn't get the chance? Well, I have some great news for you. Starting on September 5th, we will be launching our Virtual Space Bowl competition and championship. So stay tuned for more on that here just after this. Thanks for watching and thanks for playing.
Okay, we're back with our Orion team on final approach to the moon. This is a critical phase in a mission. Rendezvous and docking two vehicles in space is not as easy as parking the family sedan. I commanded the very first space shuttle docking with the Russian space station Mir. And you can bet that as we approached, we had one thought on our minds. This has to be flawless. After all, failure is not an option.
So we're getting closer and closer to Gateway here. Things are looking good.
Commander, tell us what we're going to be exploring once we get to the lunar surface.
Well, that is a very good question.
Well, I have it on good insight that the gateway is fully automated. Everything.
Automatic docking? Come on, we didn't need automatic docking.
I'm starting to see Gateway there a little bit visual.
5 kilometers.
We're coming in hot.
2 kilometers.
Hot.
1.
We're decelerating.
500 meter.
Operations, send message requesting to dock with the Gateway.
All right. Stand by.
Like a
Alien corgis are attacking.
Sorry, I'll mute. Send to Gateway. All right. I have requested permission to dock.
Received. Pilot, enable ILS.
Enabling ILS. ILS on.
Automatic docking in process. Here we go. Whoa, big turn. Ah, there we go. We're coming in.
Nice driving.
Go.
100 meters.
Nice and smooth.
We've arrived.
There we go. Congratulations.
Good job, team.
And there we are.
Please do not unfasten your seatbelts until the vehicle has come to a full complete stop.
Good job, team.
All right.
Great job.
All right.
Wow, I am impressed. Not sure I could have done a better job myself. Well, probably, but still a successful mission. Good flying, great teamwork, and it sounded like they enjoyed the experience. Missions like these will be critical as we embark on journeys to the moon and Mars in the coming decades. From the Space Camp Alumni Association Mission Control, I'm Hoot Gibson signing off. Godspeed and good luck.
My name is Ed Van Sice. I'm a flight director here at Johnson Space Center. about to take my shift in the flight control room, or what we affectionately called the Moker at Space Camp. Of course, times are a little bit different than what we anticipated. I wish I could be with you in person to celebrate all the awesome things that we've experienced and that Space Camp brings to so many young people and adults every year as they get inspired by learning about things that we're doing in the space business and human spaceflight. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that in person, but I know that what I learned at Space Camp and Space Academy certainly has helped prepare me for doing what I'm about to do, which is go work a shift in mission control, but also for just being in this unusual new situation, because that's what we got thrown into in every one of those simulations, was a situation that we were not prepared for. I remember, for example, my space station mission, all the bees got loose and they went and stung everybody. I don't know how bees would sting you in zero gravity, but it happened. And so we had to deal with that. You know, Space Camp and all my memories from that, and my friends that I still enjoy interacting with even so many years later, have really helped me get prepared for this career and really helped shape me as a young person to be ready for the unexpected, but then also to get to meet a whole bunch of new people from all across the country and really just have a fantastic time learning about what it is to be in human spaceflight. Like I said, I wish I could be with you, maybe experiencing a mission with you, but for now, let's just enjoy all the things we'll be able to engage with virtually as we celebrate the alumni group that we're a part of, and all the great memories we've had and all the inspiration that's happened because of Space Camp and the Space and Rocket Center.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Torzone, and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I sit on our Space Camp Alumni Board. I was lucky to attend Space Camp as a child. I went to Space Academy Level 1, Space Academy Level 2, and Aviation Challenge. Super excited that I've also been able to share the family camp experience with my own children and hopefully inspire some of their dreams. And while ultimately I did not become the astronaut that I wanted to be, it did lead me into a career where I became a vice president at Northrop Grumman, and now I get to work on products, everything from outer space to underseas, and I really have a great career as a result of it.
I simply can't put into words how much Space Camp has affected my life. This program has taught me so much more than any other school or summer camp ever has and probably ever will. I mean, sure, Space Camp filled my brain to the brim with random factoids about space but there's so much more to it than that. I've learned how to build friendships, work with a team, and solve problems on the fly. And Space Camp has inspired me, like many others, to pursue careers relating to space exploration and travel. And I mean, without that, who's going to take us to Mars? The pride of commanding the space shuttle orbiter, or the butterflies in your stomach right before you get on the MAT for the first time, laughing with crew trainers and teammates, and of course, the sadness that comes when you have to leave. So trust me when I say this. When you go to Space Camp, you will understand just how important it is.
Hi, I'm Dr. Andrea Hansen, and I'm from Houston, Texas, where I work at NASA's Johnson Space Center. I've been a research scientist, a systems engineer, and today support the Artemis program, where I'm working with our commercial partners to design the next human landing system that will bring the first woman and next man to the lunar surface in 2024. I credit my time at Space Camp for altering my trajectory into a lifetime of out-of-this-world opportunities.
My name is Megan Curletto, and I am a graduate of Detroit Country Day School right outside Detroit in Michigan. And I was able to attend Space Camp in 1997 with the other fifth graders in my grade. And it was one of the best experiences that I ever got to attend while I was at Detroit Country Day School. In fact, my friends and I still reference that trip quite often when we discuss all of our fond memories from being at Detroit Country Day School together. I think it's an amazing experience that every kid should get a chance to be a part of. And it shaped me to become the person that I am today through the teamwork exercises and the team building skills. And I learned so much while I was there that I thought it would be wonderful to be a teacher because of that, giving children experiences just like Space Camp does. And today I'm actually back at Detroit Country Day School as a 3rd grade teacher, and I couldn't be more proud to be a part of that community, but also to give kids a heads up on what exciting adventures they get to have in the future. I even still have a picture of myself at Space Camp.
Space Camp is a very fortunate experience that you have the time of your life at because it is super fun.
Hi, I'm Josh Warren. Today I'm a managing director at BlackRock, a global provider of investment management and technology solutions. I live in New York. But back in November 1991, for 1 week, I was the Space Shuttle commander at Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama. It was an inspiring experience. I learned to work the problem, to not make things worse by guessing, and that failure is not an option.
Hello, my name is Chad Driver. I'm a member of the Space Camp Alumni Association Board, and I'm a video producer and still photographer here in Nashville, Tennessee. That means I did not go into a space-related STEM technology kind of field. I instead went into video production and creative services. But I still do wear this headset anytime I can because it reminds me of being back at camp in Mission Control. I went to Space Camp in the late 80s. Space Academy Level 1 is what it was called then. And went and got a job a few years later in the early 90s at the Space and Rocket Center. Had children about 10 years after that in the early 2000s. And joked at the time that I really only had kids so that I could go to family camp, go to Space Camp again. That's not true, of course. It's only 70 to 80% true maximum. But did go with each of them to the Space and Rocket Center for Space Camp 2 or 3 times with each of them. And then unfortunately they got old enough to go on their own, so I don't get to go anymore with them. But they still love it, and man, what great memories I've got spending time with each of them at Space Camp. Really some of the best memories I've ever had as a parent.
Hi, my name is Joyce Harai, and I'm from Houston, Texas. I work for NASA Johnson Space Center as a flight controller, and I fly with the Hurricane Hunters for the Air Force Reserve. I was an alum of Advanced Space Academy, and I was a crew trainer for Aviation Challenge. Attending camp really solidified my passion for aviation and space. Carrying that passion forward, and with a little hard work, I now get to do both.
Elizabeth Bierman, and I am part of the Hall of Fame class of 2015. And I want to spend a few moments just letting you know what Space Camp means to me. Space Camp meant dreams come true. I was lucky enough to attend Space Camp in the summer of 1988, and it definitely was a dream come true for me. And what I learned at my time at Space Camp was that if you put your mind to it, you could achieve anything. And so the next dream I had was to become an aerospace engineer. And when I fulfilled that dream, it opened doors that I never knew existed. And my engineering career journey has just been something amazing, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. And I know it's because of the experiences that I had at Space Camp. So my wish is that we can continue to see many more space campers have the ability to achieve their dreams.
Space Camp?
Space Camp.
Space Camp is.
Space Camp is.
Space Camp to me is inspirational.
Space Camp is a place to grow as an individual and as a teammate.
Space Camp is meeting people from all over the world.
Friendship.
Friendship connecting.
Family.
Space Camp is a huge network of people who love science and technology.
Space Camp is immersive.
Hands-on.
Elevating.
Space Camp is fulfilling dreams.
A portal to endless opportunities.
Horizon expanding.
A springboard to success.
Training for a future career. A foundation for anything you want to do and anywhere you want to go.
Space Camp is amazing.
Life changing. Making me better than I thought was my best.
Space Camp is worth saving.
Our future in space starts with Space Camp.
Chandler. I'm chairman of the U.S. Space and Rocket Center Education Foundation, and most importantly, a Space Camp alumni. It's with a heavy heart today that I'm having to reach back out to the alumni community. We have always supported a mission of exploration and empowerment for our young folks. The coronavirus pandemic has devastated our revenue stream, and without your support, we're on a trajectory to have to close the doors of the U.S. Space and Rocket Center Museum, Space Camp, and its sister programs sometime in October of this year. Our organization, our beloved Space Camp and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center Museum, does not qualify for federal, state, or local relief. It's up to us. We have to save Space Camp. We have to raise $1.5 million by October to ensure that the museum stays operational and so that Space Camp can reopen in the spring of 2021. So please join us in our fight to save Space Camp. Go to savespacecamp.com to give now to help ensure that the youth of today is given the same opportunity as we were. Let's save Space Camp together.